All right, welcome back to Smoke and Mirrors. This is not our regular scheduled program, which we are deviating from this week due to COVID lockdowns in Sydney. So we decided because we couldn't get the same chemistry and feel in the room, we wanted to just take that week. And yeah, we thank you for your support, and we're looking to get back into it as soon as lockdown ends. So let's quarantine, do our part, and we'll get back into it. But this week we are looking at the next movie in the MCU Mosaic, Black Widow. Something I was sort of excited, but I sort of wasn't excited because I was like, what's the point of a Black Widow movie this late in the game? And yeah, I mean, we've already seen what happened to the character in Endgame, so do we really need it? So grab your mocha, your coffee, whatever you got, your Milo maybe, if you're in Australia. Keep them warm in the winter. And let's have a look. So the plot of Black Widow is Natasha Romanoff, who we know as the Black Widow, has to regroup with her family from her past that we knew nothing about up until this point, to defeat her nemesis, General Dreykov, and yeah, bring her family together and stop running from her demons and kind of face into it. So it was a good setup because it's your classic revenge sort of movie, where the protagonist really kind of like throws everything aside and like, I'm committing to this. I'm not running away. I'm kicking ass this time. So this one's directed by Kate Shortland, another piece of Aussie royalty, director of Somersault. It's written by Eric Pearson, who did a lot of Marvel's one-shots, and also did Thor Ragnarok. We got a story by Jack Schaefer, who struck gold with WandaVision, and Ned Benson, who did The Disappearance of Eleanor Rigby. We got Scarlett Johansson, Florence Pugh, we got David Harbour, Rachel Weisz, Ray Winstone, Olga Kulenko, and O.T. Fagbenle starring in this one. So the cast is pretty full up. We also got William Hurt in there as well, reprising his role of General Ross. So the cast is pretty good. You'd expect big things from this cast. So watching the trailers and everything, I had some thoughts about what the movie would be before I watched it, which is what trailers are supposed to do. You build a story in your head and set those expectations. So I thought the movie looked really grounded. There were these flourishes of big action set pieces, which I kind of thought, does it fit? Does it need to be that big? And can we just get like this nice sort of character piece with small to medium level action sequences that really sort of drive home everything that makes that character important? So I thought maybe those action sequences could possibly ruin this. I thought Florence Pugh looked great, pretty badass, almost like the anti-Natasha, where she is now. David Harbour kind of looked weird in the MCU. This is the first time that I've seen him, and he was kind of just flexing in a singlet or a wife beater, wherever you are in the world. I thought the music sounded great. It almost had like this Blade Runner kind of vibe, where it was like acid orchestra, really sort of blaring. But the thought that I had at the end of every trailer was, do we actually need a Black Widow movie? So I really wanted to kind of go in and break that down. So this movie should have been released after Civil War. There was no point in coming back and kind of going, well, here's the Black Widow movie, because it's almost like the pity movie after the fact. And we know how the character ends up, but was there any value in actually telling us what happened in between? We're going to be looking for little pockets in the MCU now to bring characters back so that, well, we can have a story just to fill out the film slate or the series or whatnot. So hopefully that's not the case. So the movie starts with an action set piece. So we see Black Widow when she's younger. So Natasha when she's younger, see her sister, we see Rachel Weisz's character Melina, and we see David Harbour's character Alexei, and they're posing as Americans in the US, right? In Ohio. We then get sort of taken away on this big adventure where now they're on the run. They've completed their mission. They're on the run now. So they go through some of these barriers, police barriers, and eventually end up at this makeshift hangar that they've created, like their escape plan. And while they're escaping, we kind of see Alexei use his powers for the first time. We realize he's a super soldier. He's got powers. He's super strong. And this plane then gets wheeled out and they're trying to take off. But as they try to take off, the cops bust in and they have to shoot their way out basically and use the plane to take out these cops before eventually taking off. And they go to what looks like an island like Cuba or something. And from there, we're introduced to Ray Winstone's character, General Dreykov. And we also see this big betrayal from Alexei, which is David Harbour's character. So we see that Natasha and her sister Yelena they almost believe that these are their actual parents, right? And David Harbour just basically throws them to the wolves. It looks like Natasha's been in the Red Room before, and she's been trained up until that point, but Yelena has not. And she's very defensive, disarming a guard and using his gun against him. And then David Harbour kind of comes in, soothes both of them, and calms everything down before they get, like, black bagged and injected in the neck and out the door. And we see him kind of grab this, I think it's a My Little Pony toy. And then we see a James Bond style opening sequence where we see the girl's journey. So they really just, after completing this fucking 4-year mission or this 3-year mission, threw them in a container like trash, shipped them off to Russia, presumably, where they were then taken to the Red Room. So they then get trained and brought up to be killers, and they would also go through their sort of hysterectomy process as well, which Yelena breaks down the film for us. And then it kind of goes into present day where we find Natasha and General Ross is still after her. So this is after the events of Civil War where Natasha is on the run, right? And she's given her statement to the UN and she's now on the run. General Ross wants her and she's hiding out. We kind of get introduced to the SWAT team that's coming in to take her down in this building or this hotel. And then when they reach her, when they kick the door in, find she's not there. She's just activated the tracking beacon on her costume. She's actually in Norway, and she's laying really, really low. We see her throw her phone away that she was talking to General Ross on very early on. And then we see her go to this caravan in Norway. And when she goes into the caravan, we're introduced to O.T. Fag Benley's character, who doesn't really get much to do in this film. He's kind of really shown sleeping a lot. That's your introduction to the character. He's sleeping in another sequence, and he kind of he gets taken advantage of because they don't really give him time but expect the world from him. So the man can't really deliver. He explains basically everything that needs to be done with the caravan, and then jets. All right. It looks like the two of them are on a pretty friendly basis. And then he jets, she stays, and she's isolated for about 6 hours. This is like the time it takes to run out of gasoline for her generator. And that's basically her hiding away. It took her longer to get to the caravan than I think she stayed in the caravan. Because after that, she's like, okay, now I got to go to town, and sort of like get these like gasoline and my supplies and whatnot. And then she goes. We're also in that time introduced to Yelena present day. So it sets her up. It's in Morocco. It sets her up as the sniper. See her run down a wall and then take this person out. She's pretty brutal as well. Take this person out and kill them with a knife. And then we sort of see like she gets dosed with this red liquid. And as soon as she gets dosed, she turns into a different person. And through this, we kind of find out that, yes, she was under like this mind control, but this serum or this spray completely like takes them out. It's like the antidote to mind control. And then she's sort of comforting the person that she's just killed, and eventually she has to break away and run from Morocco. So this also sets her up as she's on the run. She's now awakened, and she's got that serum spray stuff in tow, and it's glowing red. It was a bit hokey, but anyways. So it sets up our two lead protagonists to kind of meet up because O.T. Fag Benley brings these packages from Budapest. So I finally learned how to say Budapest because I've been saying Budapest all these years. And then we're kind of introduced to the next thing that's going to pull Natasha to Yelena, which are these packages. They go through and they meet up in Budapest. And then the action kind of sets in. So the action sequences were great. They're really, really big, not too crazy. We get Taskmaster doing a lot of things that we've already kind of seen in the MCU, but they're nice to see, especially in this sort of movie. It's not way over the top. It's sort of in action sequences terms is very close to the Winter Soldier, where there's sort of these medium-sized action pieces and then this massive one at the end with another carrier and like parachuting and debris falling from the sky and that sort of thing. But done well. It's flashy. It's Marvel-ish. It's nothing dark or different, but, you know, we kind of, these are the payoffs of the characters. So along the way, Natasha, Yelena, they join up and they do their thing. And kind of work each other out, and now they're building trust again, and it shows them bonding, which is really cool. But they then regroup with the family that, they had when they were young, but then they lost. And see, the only family, or the first family that they really knew, the only family for Yelena, that we find out later. And, we sort of were reintroduced to Alexei, who's now in prison. They break him out. And then through him, we're kind of taken to Melina, their mum. So I would never trust Alexei again, to be honest, which is how they're kind of playing it. But he's very sort of, well, I did what I had to do, and I'm not the bad guy in this. And he really thinks like they're back to where they left off. He's completely oblivious to everything that's happened since then. He's also seems oblivious to what transpired in the Red Room, which is crazy, right? Because he's very proud of his daughters, that they're the strongest girls in the world, but they go through this process where they get a hysterectomy, and they have to endure countless hours of training, mind control, killing people. It's not stuff that I think he would be proud of, or any parent would be proud of. And this is the guy that was a super soldier, or is a super soldier, but all he wanted really was fame and glory. So I really didn't like Alexei at that point. And I don't think I really liked him throughout the whole film. And I don't think you're supposed to like him either. So he does talk about, in prison, where we're introduced to him, arm wrestling, where he eventually breaks someone's arm. We do hear him talk about his run-in with Captain America and their run-ins. And this made me think, are there two Captain Americas running around the MCU? So there'd be the normal Cap, who during the 80s would have been frozen in ice. But then there'd be another Cap from the Endgame time travel that could have flown under the radar and just kind of done his thing on the low. I don't know. Maybe you guys can tell me. So we see William Hurt. I did touch on it before, but we do see him, and he looks completely different. So maybe it's them sort of putting prosthetics on to really accentuate that he's getting old, and he just looks like really, really weak compared to how he looks now in Infinity War. But yeah, he looked like Stanley Tucci in The Lovely Bones, and it was just really weird to see. And it kind of took you out of it as well. Sorry, I just had a sip of my coffee. So we got the three leading ladies of the movie. So we got ScarJo, we got Flo Pugh, and we got Ray Weiss. That all really excel in their roles. Scarlett Johansson really owns this character. Like, it's been like now almost like an 8 to 10 year journey with her to get to this point. So she knows this character inside and out, how to play her, where she's cocky, where she's vulnerable, where she's comedic, and she's got the timing down. I don't think Natasha is an easy character to play. She's not one note. She's saying two things at any one time. And it's a great role for her. I don't think she's typecast as well, because she was great in Marriage Story too. But yeah, she's got it down pat now. Florence Pugh, who's new to the series, really excels. So she's extremely formidable in the role, but at the same time brings like this soft sort of comedic element to it, where she says things that are comedic, but she says them very, very straight faced, and kind of has like that deadpan humor, but it works for her character. And much like Midsummer, she sort of, she kind of when she breaks down in the film, you really feel it. She's really good at conveying emotion, where she's trying to put on a front, like she's not hurting and trying to act normal, which worked for this character because she's like really hiding the fact that she wants that family unit back. Like that to her was a shining light of her past. She knows that it's fake, but to her, she looks back at it like this endearing moment in her life, that's helped her get through some of the hardest parts of her life. And then we get Rachel Weisz, who brings in like this really sort of matter of fact character, Melina. She is calculated. She's emotional, and not like, overly emotional, but she's able to give love, and you understand that her character had been through the Red Room, cycled through, she says, 4 times before Natasha had even been born, which it added weight to that character very, very quickly, that she was able to go through and endure that, but still have compassion and love for this sort of put together family, this weird kind of Brady bunch. And Rachel Weisz plays it really, really well. Her accent is on point. David Harbour's not so much, and Ray Winstone's was horrible, but Rachel Weisz pulls that accent right off. And she gets like some action sequences in there as well, which like it's a fairly dramatic role that, like, even though it's a Marvel movie, you get a nice little dramatic flair and these action set pieces that she can work with. So it was pretty cool, because she hasn't really done anything that big, I think, since The Mummy 1 and 2, because she didn't come back for the third. Ray Winstone as a villain was good, but his accent was horrible. He is a one-sided villain, so he's meant to be killed. He's just that guy, but he doesn't get much to do except, I'm the bad guy. This is my plan, and you're going to lose. That's it. But he doesn't fight. He doesn't kind of do anything. He's meant to be sort of tormented. So he's almost like the guy he believes he's bigger than he actually is. And it's all a facade, because the power that he holds is not from within. It's from the control that he exudes and kind of wants to put on people. So it wasn't a villain with depth. It wasn't a Winter Soldier sort of villain. It wasn't a Baron Zemo or anything. It was just, all right, we're just going to give you this villain that's going to twirl his mustache, and that's going to be it. Toot his own horn. So I wasn't really sold on him. It would have been really cool to see more, especially the hurt that Natasha's caused, and kind of like feel that from him. So Natasha early in the movie kind of details, okay, she defected to America from Russia by killing who she thought at the time was Dreykov. You don't really see how he actually got out of there, but she used his daughter to deliver this bomb in her backpack to him, and then she blew the building up. The daughter survives, and Dreykov survived, which makes me question what the fuck, actually happened with the bomb. Or did they not use proper explosives? Or did they not use enough? Or what happened? Because it just, they were in the room, you see them explode, and then they both survive. So that brings me to Olga Kulenko, who doesn't get much to do in here. So she's basically unveiled as Dreykov's daughter, which is okay, cool. She's Taskmaster. All right. Which, that's it. I don't think she even says much. I don't think she has a line. No, she does. Right at the end. She says one line, and then Natasha answers her, and then it's done. Which really, Olga Kulenko could have really just shown up right at the end and then just, okay, we're done. And then moved on. Because the stuntman would have done everything else for her. And then, where the movie ends, it links directly into the events before Infinity War. So Natasha gets the blonde hair, has a Quinjet, and she's going to go meet up with her friends so that she can basically break these guys out of prison and kind of start moving the Avengers back together. Her family, so Melina, Alexei, and Yelena are taken with the rest of the widows, which had the spell broken on them. They were now awake. So was Taskmaster. So she was broken out of that spell. And they go with them. And Natasha goes with General Ross. So she calls in General Ross with another beacon that she had. I don't know how many of these beacons she has, but she has a few that all call General Ross. The international criminal caper. And then, so she eventually gets out of it, obviously, and she's able to go forth and kick some ass again in Infinity War before her eventual demise. And then the movie ends. So we then get treated to an after credit sequence, as is the norm with all these Marvel pictures, and where we get to see Black Widow or Natasha Romanoff's grave. So she's buried in Ohio, where she was with her family in her upbringing, which is it's a nice little touch there that she's sort of coming home. There are teddy bears and flowers and all sorts of things, because this is almost like a celebrity grave. And then we see a truck pull up, a dog jump out, and then Yelena hops out of this truck. She walks to the gravestone. She's whistling as her and Natasha did when they were younger to kind of get their attention. And then she's crying and she's sort of having a moment. And then we hear someone blow their nose really, really hard. And then we see it is Valentina, who we met in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. And she's saying, well, I've got your next target. Yelena goes, well, I'm kind of on vacation at the moment. Leave me alone. And she's like, I think you'll want to do this one because, this is the guy that killed your sister. And she hands her this iPad. And on the iPad is a picture of Clint Barton, which kind of it now confirms and ties her to the Hawkeye show. But the big thing is that we see that the MCU is not just going, okay, what's the next film, but it's what's the next property. And the shows and the series are as important as the movies. it's pretty cool, right? Like, we're getting a bigger MCU. It's just you have to watch a whole lot more to kind of get there. So as always, I'm never going to give this a rating or anything like that. Yes, I rated it on Letterboxd, but that's an indicative rating, and just, yeah, cool. This is how I felt at the time, but nothing to back that up. So I'm going to give you why you shouldn't watch and why you should watch. So, why you shouldn't watch. So I assumed in this movie we'd get more emotion and less action. We kind of just didn't get that. It was like this action extravaganza. That was also fairly long as well. It kind of felt like it could have ended 15, 20 minutes a bit earlier than that. I wish they would have dug into Natasha's time in the Red Room and what that impact was on her. I know we've seen it in Age of Ultron, but that was very brief. But to see it play out in the returning family dynamic would have been really, really nice. And would have added a lot more weight to her. Because she eventually, Natasha's character eventually goes, well, you know what? I was pushing everyone away because I knew that, our family unit was all fake and everything, but really I loved that time together, and I want more of that. So yeah, I think there was a missed opportunity there to just inject more emotion and weight to her character, especially, because all of that felt like they put it in Yelena's character, which was weird because, yes, the movie's about Black Widow, Natasha Romanoff, but it's almost like a launch pad for her character, especially when you get to the after credit sequence. And now it's more just her story, Yelena's story, as opposed to Natasha's story. I don't know. I wish Taskmaster also didn't get treated like Bane from Batman and Robin. Just the mindless thug that kind of just does whatever. It would have been nice to kind of, that reveal of she's a woman in the suit would have been great, without telling you, hey, it's Dreykov's daughter, only to kind of see her question things that Dreykov's doing or kind of react to things that Dreykov's doing, so that eventually when she breaks free, she's wanted to break free for a very long time. And that sort of that was the two things that really didn't work for me in the movie. Among other things, there were a few, but I touched on that. Also, the Acid Orchestra score didn't make it. For some reason, we got the generic sort of strings and hero beats in there, which is, I guess it was fine. It's like there's a reason why no one remembers as many Marvel themes as they do DC themes or other properties themes, and that's because they're all pretty much generic. But why should you watch this movie? So, watch it when you're not surrounded by the hype. I think that would be my biggest point. So I watched it on the Friday that it came out on Disney Plus. Sat there, set it up, and I watched it. And while I was watching it, it felt overly it just felt like it was dated, and all the hype about it was kind of like, it's all bullshit. But then I watched it the next day before this review, and it played a lot better when it was out of that cloud of hype. That hype cloud really sort of rained on the parade, I think, the first time out. But the second time was actually really nice to watch. It flowed a lot better. I knew what I was expecting, especially with the family dynamic and the action sequences and how that kind of played out, because I had this idea in my head, and maybe it was a Mandela effect, that there wasn't that much action in the movie. But then when I watched it the second time, I realized, there's a shitload of action in this one. And then overall, this movie's a great send-off for Black Widow. So we've spent a lot of time with this character as well. And we've kind of seen her play the small but pivotal role in the Avengers. She's like Hawkeye. But a lot of the time she came through and saved the day and made the difference in the battles against, the big guys. Her ultimate sacrifice in Endgame is what gets them the Soul Stone, gets Hawkeye back to his family, and really sort of you felt that impact in that movie. Now we get to see her arc completed. It's great to see, because we wanted a happier ending for her in Endgame, and she kind of gets that here. The only thing is, it came too little too late. I don't know if that was the intention behind releasing this movie as the first movie in this phase, or did they just kind of think of it afterwards and then go, hey, we could capitalize on that, and hey, Black Widow is dead, but people might think, hey, she's alive, or people want to know more about her, and rah, rah, rah. I don't know, but I think it's a missed opportunity to kind of get in then after Civil War and fill those gaps in then as opposed to now. But yeah, those are my thoughts on Black Widow. Overall, I enjoyed it, right? It's a generic Marvel movie, but it's never going to be in your top 5 Marvel movies. Probably won't even be in your top 10. But, it's worth watching. It's another piece in the mosaic. It adds to it. There's more layers now. And at the end of this thing, we're going to have blooming onion, like we're at Outback Steakhouse. Guys, take care of yourselves. Stay indoors, or wherever you are in the world. Take care and try to be COVID safe as much as you can. Don't do anything stupid, because we're all in this together. And yeah, we shall see you hopefully as a team once more, assembled. When lockdown is lifted and we are back. But yeah, it's robed up Rob, because we're locked down at home. Signing out.